Jessica Jell, and welcome to my first impressions for Miss Marvel. Just finished the episode, and yo, man, this episode was fucking awesome, man. Legit. Now, you guys know me. I wasn't like super hyped for Miss Marvel. I obviously was interested in it, and I enjoyed what I saw from the trailers. I noticed how stylish the cinematography looked really good, and how stylish the trailers were, and was wondering if that would keep on to the rest of the show. And first off, it did. And my God, this show is brimming with so much style, with just the cinematography, the camera work, how they kind of show off certain things, and just the sporadic editing and everything. This show is brimming with style, and I think perfectly represent what it's like to be like a teenager type thing, because like there was so much I'm like, come on, I feel you on that one, and shit like that, which we'll talk more about as we continue on a bit, but. In terms of style, this show got it, man. I was wondering if they were going to kind of keep it. It's not exactly how it was shown off in the trailers with like the text bubbles and everything, but it's more or less there. And bro, the music. The music, bro. Yo, the music slaps for the show, man. I'll probably have someone playing in the background because, man, that shit was clean. Anyway, as I was saying, I wasn't like, the super most hyped up for this series, but I obviously was interested in, when you guys know, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but a while ago in Comixology, I had like a massive sale where they were showing where they were selling a bunch of trades for free. One of them was the first trade, Miss Marvel, which I ended up buying because it was free. And I was like, fuck it, why not? The Disney Plus show's coming up, whatever. And so because then the show obviously dropped today, I did the obligatory, put the issue cover, the first issue cover in front of your face and kind of fill up the cover with your face. Kind of that shit was like huge back when the first issue came out in like 2014 or so. I was like, fuck it, the show's debuting. I got the trade. It has that cover. That's the cover of the trade. Fuck it, I'll do. Which I ended up posting it on Twitter for you guys to watch, and also Instagram. So. Yeah, I was like, fuck it, why not? I know I'm like 6 years late to the trend, but fuck it, why not? Why not do it? But I'm pretty sure I also mentioned that I wasn't gonna read that until after the Disney Plus series was finished up, just so I can view the show more so on its own merit how it is, and then kind of go back and read the original comic, or at least that trade, and kind of compare it from there. But yeah, man, this episode was fucking incredible, man, and I have a feeling that this will probably end up being my second favorite Disney Plus. I'm not going to say it's my first because obviously I don't think Miss Marvel is going to top Moon Knight. But Kamala, this show is fucking fantastic, man. But yeah. Anyway, let's just jump right in. So the show stars, and apologies if I butcher these names, which I probably am. I'm not Arabic. Iman Velina, Fuad Khan, Armis Knight, Madeline Tex, and many more. And the plot of Miss Marvel is Kamala is a superhero fan with an imagination, particularly when it comes to my girl Captain Marvel, my girl Carol Danvers. Kamala feels that she doesn't fit in school and sometimes even at home. This is until she gets superpowers like the hero she looks up to. All right, now first off, let's talk about Kamala real quick. Let's talk about Kamala. Now, you guys know this was basically going to serve my introduction to Kamala, because to this point, I hadn't really seen her in much of anything recently. Like I said, I never read her comics, and I've been watching the cartoon she was in because I didn't have Disney XD. But I obviously knew of Kamala, and the only other exposure I had whenever she would make occasional appearances in like Miles' book or the comic Fearless from a few years back, and of course from what I played from Marvel's Avengers. And overall, I liked Kamala, and this was going to serve my interest in Kamala. This was basically going to show me like who's Kamala, and I'm going to finally figure out who she really is. And overall, I really like Kamala. I thought Iman, if I'm saying her name right, I apologize if I'm butchering it. She was phenomenal, man. I thought her performance was great. And also, another thing I love about this woman, she points out the hypocrisy. She points out the thing that bugged me the most with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And I love that she pointed out and everything. I'm like, yes, thank you. Finally, somebody else knows how this makes no goddamn sense. So quickly, I want to talk about this real quick because I saw this on Twitter a few days ago, and I was like, yes. So spoiler alert for Multiverse of Madness. If you guys have not seen it, skip ahead. But in an interview right before the show, had like a red carpet event for the show, she said like she she admitted, like, no, she doesn't think this is 616, and shows and says that the MCU is Earth 199999. I'm probably missing a couple nines, but not 616. She didn't say 616 is the comic universe, but she said that this is not, that the MCU is not 616, it is 1999. And I was like, yes, thank you. You are now my favorite MCU character. So obviously, I already love this woman from that alone, knowing that she's like, yes, pointing out the stupidity of the MCU being 616 when that's the main comic universe. But yeah, she's phenomenal here, man. I thought she was great. And yeah, man, and I overall am digging Kamala. I think her character is really interesting. I like her. And yeah, I would definitely say she's definitely one of Marvel's better diversity characters. She's probably still like a distant second from Miles, but she's really good, man. I like Kamala. I like her from what I see of her so far. The other characters I thought were all really good. Her mom was kind of iffy, but we'll talk more about her in a second. But I gotta say, I love her friend, Bruno, I believe his name is, played by Matt Lynx. He's great, man. And I really think and I really dug their chemistry they have with each other. And I also wouldn't be surprised these two start dating by the end of the series. Or maybe this is one of those times where they just stay friends. We'll have to wait and see. Although the shippers are probably already taking care of that. But yeah, I liked him. I thought he was cool, and I liked his rapport with Kamala. Now, obviously, the one thing that this show excels at from this one episode is the directing. The directing in this show is amazing, as well as the cinematography. I mentioned this a couple times when we saw those, like a couple teasers we got, as well as a trailer, about how, yo, this show looks really good. Like, the cinematography looks really good, but yo, in the actual episode itself, my God, this show is going insane. Like, I wouldn't go full on, like, they're going like Sam Raimi hard, like with Multiverse of Madness, but bro, this show is bringing with so much style, the sporadic editing, and just how overall just the whole camera work, how much they change around with certain things, and just the whole clip of camera angles they use. Like, I feel like this show perfectly. What was that? This show perfectly embodies what it's like to be a teenager, and I think this show did a really good job, especially with the sporadic editing and how much it like does like a lot of quick cuts and stuff, and just the overall just like camera work in general. I thought for the show is overall fantastic. There's a lot of really good shots in the show, man, from this first episode, and it looks amazing, man. Also, another thing I think I love about the show is how much they use like the background to show off stuff, like when Kamala is like daydreaming, or like when we start the show off where she gives a bit more of like some revisionist history of what happened in Endgame to make Carol seem like she is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and like she was the reason that the Avengers won, and not really acknowledging Tony's sacrifice with I am Iron Man, and kind of making Carol the star of the show, which I was like, the revisionist history, but I'll allow it. That looked really cool, where they kind of had like these like little like sketches or drawings of like the Avengers, and then just kind of going around, and like she was like using all this other shit to like show this off. That looked really cool. I love like in like the background when Kamala and Bruno are talking with each other, and like they're kind of like figuring out how they're gonna get to Avengers Con, and having like all these like doodles or like drawings appear on like the walls behind them as they're like biking their way back home. That looks really cool. Like there's also another time where they're trying to get into Avengers Con, they're texting each other, and you see the text messages like appear in the background, like on the wall, like on the street or on the wall, or part of like, or having the emojis appear on like neon lights. There is so much style and creativity in this show, man. It's honestly astounding, man. And with this Moon Knight and Multiverse of Madness, I'm hoping that this is setting a precedent for the rest of the MCU moving forward for Phase 4 and onward, that Kevin Feige is finally letting directors off the leash and letting them get a little bit more creative, and let them be directors and have more creative directors. Which I'm hoping, like I said, I've never been one of the people that kind of like complained about the cinematography and the directing in the Marvel movies. It just doesn't really bother me as much as something like I thought. But the fact that we've been kind of getting that we got this like in 3 of the Disney and back to back for Phase 4, I'm hoping that this is setting a precedent that we're going to see more of this in the rest of the MCU and the rest of Phase 4. We'll have to wait and see on that. But yo, this show looks amazing, man. Seriously, visually, this movie is stunning, man, and it's a feast for the eyes. But that was obviously the one thing that I think the show really excelled at, man, was that. Secondly, the music in the show was phenomenal, man. I love the music in this, man. They definitely take a lot more, like I think the ED is trying like some Arabic rap song or something. It sounded fantastic, man. There was a lot of other really cool music tracks in here, man. And the music in general, I love the song they picked for the LP. They had some weekends starting the show off, and obviously the songs they picked for the end credits were great as well, man. The music overall this episode was just fantastic, man. I love it. what the fuck else can I talk about? There's a bunch of stuff from Avengers Con that was pretty cool. Some Easter eggs in there I noticed, which we'll talk more about that in the spoiler discussion along with the post-credit scene we got for this first episode, man. And yeah, I would say that probably my only like flaw I would have with the series, or so far from this first episode, obviously a lot of people that are hardcore Miss Marvel fans have brought up the fact of them changing around her powers, giving except she having a stretchy limb thing of being an Inhuman, which looks like they're like completely cutting out her being an Inhuman, and she just gets this gauntlet thing, and that's how she gets her powers. Instead of her being like the stretchy thing with like the Inhuman thing, she's now basically become a Green Lantern knockoff with the bracelet. Now, me personally, you guys know, like I mentioned before, I'm not some hardcore Miss Marvel fan. I don't read her comics. I've only, like I said, this show basically to serve my introduction to Kamala. So obviously, I don't really have an issue with them doing it, or I don't feel like it's fair for me to take issue with that because I'm not a fan of her comics, and I feel like, yeah. So that personally doesn't bother me because, like I said, I'm not a fan of Kamala's. I'm not some hardcore fan of her comics or anything, but obviously that is some fair criticism from a lot of hardcore Kamala fans. Them switching her powers pretty much needlessly. I mean, to be fair, some people probably has something to have wanting to not to not get her confused with Reed Richards, because we know the Fantastic Four is coming and they both basically have the same power sets when they can stretch their limbs. But yeah, there's that. But I would say for me personally, it kind of goes with the characterization of Kamala's mom. Now, I would like to preface this one thing. I am not Arabic. I only spent 2 years in Bahrain and fucking hated it there. So obviously I am not an expert in this. So this could just be a cultural difference that I am unaware of. But her mom kind of comes off like a bitch in this first episode. Like I said, I'm not Arabic, I'm not a Middle Eastern man, so this could be some cultural difference thing, but that's kind of just how she came off with it. And there's also like this one scene around the end of the first episode where I'm like, I think you're taking this a little bit too personally, woman. That's just me, but obviously this could end up probably as the show put the prices on. We could probably get more of her character, and maybe her actions will make more sense, and then this will something I won't really have an issue with once the series finishes up. But for the time being, Kamala's mom's characterization is a little iffy for me. I'm not completely sold on her character, but that's just me personally. Anyway, guys, that is everything I got to say for the spoiler-free review of the first episode of Miss Marvel. And yeah, man, overall, my final verdict, you know what? Fuck, it's a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. I was thinking about giving it a 9.5, but thinking about it, just how much style this show has, and just how much promise this show shows up in the first episode, obviously the directing and the cinematography, the music and everything, I'm like, fuck. I'm gonna give this full marks, like the Moon Knight like the first episode of Moon Knight, it gets full marks, man, a full 10 out of 10. But yeah, man, like I said before, we're not going to enter the spoiler discussion, so you guys do not want to get spoiled for the first episode, leave now. For everyone else, let's go on. Now, obviously there's the post-credit scene, which we see at the end of the first episode, where it looks like, I want to say it's Damage Control has now taken interest in Kamala, and that they're going to probably maybe be the antagonist for the series, because they're probably going to try and capture her, and maybe trying to like investigate the bracelet she got, and why does it give her these powers and everything. So we have that, but let's talk about Avengers Con. But also, one thing I also noticed that during the end credit scene, it seems like they threw in a bunch of little Easter eggs to the comics in there, because if you pay attention to one of the walls, it looks like they have the first issue of Miss Marvel appear like on the wall or something, and I think they had a couple other issue covers appearing throughout the rest of the ED. That's what it looked like to me. I'm not sure, like I said, because I don't read the comics, but I did notice the first issue, so there's a good chance that there were other ones in there too. And but anyway, when we get to Avengers Con, the first thing I thought was awesome is that you actually hear the song from Captain America: The First Avenger, where there's like the Star Spangled Man with a plan. Like, it was so cool to hear that song again, because we haven't heard that since, Cap 1. But probably the one thing that had me dying was the fact that they have a shirt that's basically a reference to America's ass. That killed me, man. I was like, oh my god, it's America's ass. It's a t-shirt. So that was pretty fun. Also, Scott Lang apparently has a podcast now. Don't know how that works with Ant-Man having a podcast, but whatever. Maybe we'll find out more about that in Quantum Realm with Scott's podcast. Because I thought that was kind of interesting in the first episode. But yeah. Obviously, when we get to the Avengers Con, we see first off, I loved Kamala's plan and how she wanted to get in there, how she was trying to figure out how she was going to get to sneak out of her parents' house, and and like obviously get to Avengers Con through like the bus and everything. And it was kind of funny just seeing all the doodles and everything. Like I said, the show has so much style to it, man, and the directing and the cinematography in the show is fucking amazing, man. From at least this first episode, it's going to be this is going to be a feast for the eyes, man. At least judging off from this first episode. But that was pretty cool. I love that whole section where Kamala is like showing him this plan and how she's planning to get to Avengers Con. But anyway, once you get to Avengers Con, we see her get suited up and everything, and we're ready for the cosplay event. And then we find out that apparently I think her name was Sam, one of the school bullies or whatever, is also there, dressed up as Kamala. And everyone else you can notice is wearing more skin tight. Carol, but then if you pay attention, you notice they're all kind of wearing Carol's old Miss Marvel outfits, which I thought that was a nice little callback to, of course, Carol being the first Miss Marvel and having her old Miss Marvel costume, not the black one, but the original red one. So I thought that was pretty cool, man. I thought that was a nice little Easter egg for us comic book nerds. So that was pretty cool, man. But anyway, she's there and she's like, oh my god, Kamala's worried about her, but looks like she never even knows she was there because of the mask and everything. But that was pretty cool, and that's obviously when she awakens her powers, because everyone is flat, everyone's shooting is shooting. Everyone is taking photos of her, and they're all got their flashes off for some reason. I'm surprised I didn't tweet out about doing an Edge and Christian reference about for the benefit of those who flash the photography, But anyway, and then she activates a bracelet, and then she starts firing off these. I don't know what the fuck they're called. I don't know if we're ever gonna figure out what they're actually gonna be called, but she like these beams or whatever, and one of them hits Ant-Man's head, and Ant-Man's head falls off from his body, and then literally just destroys almost the entire convention. It was actually kind of funny. I'm like, bro, is no one gonna try and stop this? How much momentum does this ball have? But yeah, man. Anyway, once she gets there and the console is completely destroyed, obviously Kamala takes her leave. Obviously, and they rush back home. She gets back home. That's obviously when she meets up with her mom. Her mom was waiting in her bedroom. I'm surprised they didn't do the whole thing where she also turns the lights on, being like, "Where were you, Kamala?" But anyway, when we get here, she's like, "Who are you? Who is this girl? Who is this rebellious girl?" And she kind of goes off on this and how she's felt betrayed about Kamala, lying, kind of sneaking out and everything. And I'm like, woman, I feel like you're taking this a bit too personal. She just walked out to go to a convention. This is you act like this woman just committed murder. I don't know if they would have thought like that, but that's kind of how it came off to me. And of course, she was also gossiping about this other woman with some other chick. And I'm like, oh my god, what does she need to discover going to Europe? She wants to find the ring on her finger. I'm like, and Kamala's kind of the voice of reason, be like, yeah, good for her, But yeah, I think that's about everything I want to talk about for Miss Marvel episode 1. Fantastic episode, like I mentioned before, and this show definitely shows a lot of promise, man. And I can definitely see this will end up being one of my favorite of the Disney Plus shows. We'll have to wait and see as the weeks progress until we get to that final episode, of course. But yeah, so far, I like what I see, man. I'm loving this show so far, and I'm hyped to see the next episode. Anyway, guys, let's bring this video off. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like, and links to the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time. You